I'm here with Steve Kryger. He's a communications pastor at Church by the Bridge. Can you tell us, how did you come into that role?
So I knew the senior pastor at Church by the Bridge for many years before I started. I quit my job in Canberra, moved to Church by the Bridge to do MTS. I've always been passionate about communications. I was doing online marketing in Canberra before I started MTS, and then the position became available initially part-time and now full-time for me to work in this communications role at my church.
Great. So should every church have a communications pastor?
I think that would be pretty ambitious. My goal, and this is why I started Communicate Jesus, is to create resources that other churches can use. So the research that I'm doing and the resources that I'm discovering can be passed on to others. So for example, I've done a lot of research into church member databases and into roster planning systems, into places to find good sermon series artwork. My desire is to share that so that other churches who don't have the resources are able to access those without having to hire someone to do that.
So Communicate Jesus is a great resource for the church. Can you put your head into a smaller church? What are, say, 3 or 4 things that they ought to be thinking about?
Yeah. I think firstly the website is just crucially important. Importantly, this is the way that people are coming to discover information today, and that's where they're going to first start looking for content about a church. It's great today. Creating a website is cheap and it's easy, and it doesn't require someone really with much technical skills. There's a number of services out there that will develop that site for you and make it really easy for you to keep that content up to date. You don't need, and you shouldn't ask someone who's kind of the tech guru to manage this for you. The technical side is managed by these service providers. Your job, our job as people within the church, should be creating content and clear navigation structures that make it really accessible for people to find that website. So a great website, I think, and by great I mean easy to access with content that people will find useful, is the first point. The second point is to make use of email communication. We have a culture where email is still prevalent. Everyone uses email to communicate with one another. At Church by the Bridge, we've got a regular weekly e-news that goes out in the middle of the week. We do this more than just sharing a message from the pastor and the upcoming services. We seek to share resources with people to help them live the Christian life. And so mass email communication is a really key way to stay in touch with people within your church between weekend services. Thirdly, I'd encourage people to start looking at the resources that are out there that can help them do ministry. So on Communicate Jesus and on the Geneva Push website, there's a link at to 14 websites where you can find sermon series artwork. So a lot of the tools and the materials that you need to do ministry are available online. So if you're producing a sermon series, in the next for 2012, you can find this artwork. You don't have to have a graphic designer to create eye-catching artwork that might bring people into your church that you can put on your website, turn into posters or postcards. There's lots of great resources out there, and my desire is for Communicate Jesus to be a starting point for you to access some of those.